I'm Dipesh Patel, editor at Treasury Payments. With me today is Thierry Hebraud, CEO at Mauritius Commercial Bank. Thierry, welcome.
Thank you very much.
So here we are at the ITFA Trade and Forfaiting Conference. There's a big opportunity to transform African trade, and I think we're not doing it right now. Do you agree, and why so?
Yeah, I would say, we are not doing, or Africa is not doing, or Africa is changing. Actually, Africa today is a major exporter of raw materials and an importer of finished goods. And this is what is to be transformed over the next few years, where, today the intra-trade in Africa is only 16%, and that's very low, where all the capacities of the continent, being metals, minerals, agro-food business, oil and gas. So all the resources are in the continent, but we need to transform them. And that's what is a major goal for the continent, is to transform inside of the continent and to develop the intra-continent trade. That's really the key goal.
So Thierry, let's bring this to life. Can you give any examples? Perhaps could cobalt be an example of something that can add value?
Yeah. Well, I will give you two examples. In the oil and gas sector, I know it's not very trendy to speak about fossil fuels, but I will speak about that, on the
Please.
ESG agenda of Africa. But take Nigeria. Nigeria 2 years ago was an exporter of crude oil and an importer of finished product. So both going both sides of the continent. Since Dangote in Nigeria has developed a major refinery of the continent, today it is transforming its own crude oil into finished product, into refined product, and it is used by the country and the neighboring country. And this is reducing, at the end of the day, the emission of greenhouse gases. So that's part of the solution. Another example, cobalt, DRC. Cobalt, that cobalt, lithium, nickel, these are the metals and minerals which are needed for the electrification of this world. We want effectively to move to a cleaner planet. And Africa is representing 30% of the resources, the reserve of metals and minerals. If we take cobalt, we were speaking about cobalt, DRC is representing 74% of the supply worldwide of cobalt. 97% of this cobalt is exported as raw material to China. Is it normal we do that? I think we should probably change the thing. We should smelt it in DRC and then export, the added value. Because the prices are not exactly the same. Where is the added value? Where is the value chain? I take an example, which is bauxite. Bauxite, a ton of bauxite, raw material is $55. With bauxite, you make aluminium. The ton of aluminium is $2,500.
So
this is what is the magnitude of the transition and the transformation which is needed for the continent.
So you've talked about the opportunity for intra-African trade. What is MCB doing to support that growth?
We are a very active bank in the trading activity, trade commodity finance. Oil, gas is part of it on this, but we are as well financing, investors, private equity funds coming to Africa and supporting this transition, this transformation, so production in the continent. So you have many corporates, international, multinationals, but African, Pan-African corporates as well are participating to this transition and this transformation. So we support this group as well in order to help them to develop their capacity, their investment, to be able to transform and to produce in the continent. But for that you need energy. And today, we like it or not, but the renewable energy is needed, and we are financing as MCB a project in solar plant, hydro energy, geothermic energy, wind. So we do that. But at the same time, this will not be enough in the transformation needed by the continent. Just to give you an example, 600 million Africans today have no access to electricity. 40% of the use of this planet is in Africa. In 2050, Africa will count 2.5 billion inhabitants. So if you want to move this population to an acceptable standard of living, you have to develop these countries. And this is the way we do it. So we will need oil and gas during a certain time in the continent for this transformation. So
And-
that's part of our agenda.
Thank
so
you.
what we call the just transition.
Thank you. It's a good point because you've talked about ESG, fossil fuels, and sustainability / a just transition in one part. It's definitely not off the agenda for MCB. I guess Mauritius as a whole can also celebrate some success around digital trade, right? There's a lot of things going on as a leader in Africa, the first to adopt the model law on electronic transferable records.
You're right to say that, but this is, the DNA of Mauritius at the end of the day, because if you take, our evolution over the last 30 years, we have created a model through regulation, creating an ecosystem, financial ecosystem in our country, and sign agreement. We are the only African country being part of the African Continent Free Trade Agreement, having signed free trade agreement and with India and with China. That position ourselves as a gateway for Africa between Asia and Africa, but as well between Middle East, between Europe and Americas with the continent.
Yeah.
So that's what it is at stake, when you speak about Mauritius. And it's quite natural to see that we have a regulation on virtual assets. And this will be part as well, in the transformation of the trade finance, if you think about stable coin, about or crypto. This is a change which is going to come to Africa as well. And we are the first country in Africa, effectively, having enacted the electronic bill of exchange law that requires now to be operationalized. We will need expert, technician, fintech to help us for this operationalization. But we continue to be on the forefront of this transition and this transformation of the trade with our continent.
Thank you very much. So that was Thierry Hebraud, CEO of MCB, a just transition, an opportunity to consider for intra-African trade. Thank you, Thierry.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.